Hi, this is Paul Krazan. I'm the Network Media Product Manager at AMX, and in this video I'd like to go over the new features that we've come out with in Release 7.2 of our Vision 2 product line. Now, if you're not familiar with Vision 2, it's our management platform for managing IP video throughout your organization, whether it's live streaming content, video on demand content, or digital television content. So the first feature I'd like to talk about is our new Control API. So we wanted to have a way for people to control their Vision 2 system remotely, whether it was from another web page or from a Netlink's control system. So we've added a Control API into the product. Now, the Control API is a web services API, so you make standard web calls into the Vision 2 server. What this means is that you can control it from another web page, from another program, or from a Netlink's master. So there's a lot of flexible ways that you can get it, and it's all standards based. You can do things like control the Vision 2 services, so the live service, the producer service, the recording service, doing things like starting and stopping those services, or editing certain parameters of the services themselves. You can also completely navigate through the archive and get information about the different content that's stored in there. And then you can tell a set-top box to play a live streaming channel or play something out of the archive itself in a video on demand format. And with the Amino H140, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, you actually can use the Web Services API to send RS-232 commands to the display. So you can actually use the Control API on Vision 2 to actually go all the way through and turn your displays off and on. So this is a way of controlling not just the Vision 2 system, but the entire playback, entire mechanism by which you play back videos all the way out to the display. So where do you find out more about what you can do with that Control API and how it works? Well, if you go to amx.com and you go to the master server web page, you'll notice now that we have an operation reference guide that is specifically for that programming interface. What I'd also like to talk about is the new user interfaces that we're supporting in Release 7.2. So we've come out with some new client user interfaces. Everybody today is wanting to use their mobile devices for playing back video content. And so with this release, we wanted to come out with support for a variety of Apple and Android devices. And you obviously have to have video in the correct format to support those devices, but we now have clients that allow a user to go through and choose to navigate through the archive, to select videos to play back. And what's really great about these clients is they'll only show the user videos that they can play back. So if it's in a format, if you have a video that's in a format that isn't supported by, for example, an iPad, the user won't even be presented with that video to choose. Now, we will work on a lot of different devices. The list here in this presentation is ones that we actually tested against in our testing labs. We're also adding support in for the use of the VLC web client. So VLC is an open source media player, and you can download it and install on your PC a VLC player, but also a VLC web client. We can now tap in and make use of that web client via our web user interface that we have. It enables playback of MPEG 2 transport streams, both live and video on demand. It also allows us to have a web client for Mac OS X because the VLC web client is available on the Mac. Our previous web clients, we didn't have some of the plugins that you needed to run on a Mac, so we can now support that operating system. And one of the questions that you sometimes get to about playing back MPEG 2 streams is that there tends to be royalties associated with the MPEG LA. And that is why we have those 4 FGs which are shown, and those basically are for licensing live users. And part of what we do with that money isn't just enabling live users, but we actually go and pay the MPEG LA for all their royalties for playing back those streaming MPEG videos. And we do have in the manual, I have the tables here, but we have some manuals that show the different kind of playback devices that we support and which video formats we can play back on each of those. Also in this release, we're adding support for the Amino H140. Now previously we supported the Amino 130H. This is their newer product. It's designed for the hospitality market, so it's in a nice all-metal enclosure. It is smaller than the 130H, so it's very convenient for tucking in behind the display. And most interestingly, it has a DB9 serial connector on the back, which makes it easy to hook up to a serially controllable display. And again, via that API, you can do things like turn the display on and off, change the video input on the display, and whatnot. Now, with these new user interfaces, we thought that corporate and education customers might very well want to customize their user interface. And so we built the new set-top box and mobile user interfaces as something that's customizable. And more than that, we created a tool to help make it easy to do that customization. And I've created another video which will actually take you through all the steps of customizing that UI, but you can go through and customize it and then push it out through the Vision2 system, and then the set-top boxes and the mobile user interfaces can have your own look and feel. We also came out with an MPEG Reflector service in this release. Previously, we'd only had a reflector for WMV. So let's talk a little bit about the application for an MPEG Reflector. One of the things that Vision2 has always excelled at since its first release has been multicasting video on a LAN. It's a very bandwidth efficient way of getting video around your LAN because you effectively only have one copy of the stream propagating through your network. That works really well until you start to have users that are either separated by the internet or a WAN that's not multicast enabled, so you can't multicast out to those remote users. So the way that you can address that is you can essentially use a reflector to send a unicast stream out, which can now propagate over the internet to your remote sites. And that's one of the things that you can do with our new MPEG Reflector service. But if you have a lot of remote users, a lot of remote sites, you'll quickly realize that one challenge that you're going to have is you're going to consume a lot of your internet bandwidth because every one of those unicast streams is a unique copy of the video. So the more external users you have, the greater demand that's going to place on your internet bandwidth, which is often expensive bandwidth, maybe limited. It's often mission critical for your other business applications. So what we also came out with is a small reflector appliance that you can put in your remote office. And that reflector appliance can take that unicast stream in as a single unicast stream for your remote office, and then it can re-multicast it. So within your remote office, you get all the benefits of multicast, and you only impact your originating server with a single unicast stream. So instead of having 4 or 5 or 20 users in your remote office all accessing individual unicast streams, you can now use a reflector appliance to cut down on your bandwidth consumption. So we came out with an MPEG Reflector license, that's FG3100-46L. That reflector license sits on the master server, or it can sit on the reflector license, and it's basically a license that enables you to take in a multicast video or a unicast video and reflect it onto multicast or unicast. So it's used for both ends of the system that I just showed. We also came out with a reflector appliance. It's a 1RU server, really intended to be used in remote locations. It ships with one reflector license already assigned to it, and it can support up to 6 independent reflectors on that server. And I've got a separate video I created that goes over how you set up and configure the MPEG Reflector in more detail. The other thing that occurred about the same time we came out with release 7.2 was the external storage that we had that attached to the video on demand server basically went end of life, and we had to come out with supporting some new external storage. That's the V2 storage 2400, and it replaces our legacy external storage product, which was the FG3100-04K. It has more storage capacity than the outgoing model. It's got 19 terabytes available in a RAID 50 configuration. So it's 24 terabytes raw, but we configure it for RAID, which takes it down to about 19 terabytes. And you have the ability to cascade up to 4 of these to a single archive server. With the previous model, you could only cascade 3. This one you can cascade 4. That basically gives you 76 terabytes of available usable storage if you put 4 of these units together. Now, one thing I should mention is that the connection mechanism between this external storage and the archive server is different. So we actually came out with a new archive server. It's the FG3100-06K. It's exactly the same as the old archive server, which was the -05K, only it has the new connection type that you need for this storage. So that's it. That's a brief overview of what's in release 7.2. I encourage you to go check out www.amx.com. You can find out more information about Vision 2 there. You can also find the other videos that I talked about in this overview. Thanks a lot.